The giant doors of the Zerethian throne hall opened with a deep echo, like thunder rolling through metal mountains. Every royal guard turned stiff as Queen Varaya entered with slow, powerful steps. Her tall frame and sharp golden eyes made even seasoned commanders lower their heads. She wore a long, dark cloak that shimmered like starlight trapped inside fabric, and her presence filled the room with cold authority. Nobody dared to speak. Nobody dared to breathe too loudly. But the strangest sight in the hall was not the queen. It was the human, standing in the center of the floor. Elias Ward kept his hands at his sides, calm but prepared. He was alone, surrounded by tall alien guards, each one watching him with suspicion. Humans rarely stood inside this hall. Even fewer survived long enough to speak. Elias knew that. Yet, here he was, facing the most powerful empire in this region of the galaxy. Beside him stood Princess Lyra, the queen's young daughter, her hand tightly wrapped around his. Her small silver eyes looked frightened, but she refused to let go. Elias did not understand why she held his hand so firmly. He only knew that pulling away would frighten her more. Queen Varaya stopped only a few steps away. Her presence felt like a cold wind sweeping through flames. Silence filled the hall, until not even the sound of the guards' breathing could be heard. Then she spoke. "Explain," she said, her voice calm but sharper than any blade. "Why my daughter holds your hand, human." Elias felt every guard tense. Several even took a step forward, ready to strike if he made a wrong move. But Princess Lyra squeezed his hand harder, hiding slightly behind him. The queen saw this, and her eyes narrowed, as if trying to understand a puzzle she had never faced. Elias bowed his head slightly out of respect. "Your Majesty, I can explain. But I promise you, this your daughter is unharmed." The queen's expression did not change, but the air grew colder around her. "Begin." Elias took a slow breath. He knew this story mattered. One wrong sentence could start a conflict between humans and the Zerethians. A conflict he did not want. He remembered what happened only hours earlier, when he walked through the lower district of the capital. Lyra had been disguised as a normal citizen, slipping away from her palace lessons. She wanted to see the city from ground level, not from the safe view of royal windows. But she had been followed by 3 smugglers who recognized her despite her disguise. They wanted information. They could sell information about the queen's daughter. When they cornered her in the alley, she panicked and ran straight into Elias, who was trying to find his way back to his ship. The smugglers were armed and desperate. They would have hurt her just to silence her. Elias had acted without thinking. He stepped in front of her and spoke calmly, warning the smugglers to leave. When they refused, he used his own quick reflexes to disarm one, shove back another, and drive them away. Lyra had been shaking so badly, she could not stand. When he offered his hand so she could walk, she grabbed it tightly, so tightly, that even after the danger was gone, she would not release it. He did not know she was a princess until soldiers surrounded them. She had begged them not to harm him. She held his hand the entire way to the palace. Even now, she clung to him with the same fear and trust. Elias explained all of this slowly, carefully, making sure every detail was clear but gentle. The queen listened without blinking, her expression unreadable. She was not a ruler known for emotion. She was known for iron laws, strict discipline, and a mind sharper than any machine. She trusted logic, not feelings. She believed humans were wild, impulsive, unpredictable creatures. So, when she heard Elias's story, she looked for lies, for gaps, for signs of manipulation. When he finished speaking, the hall remained silent. The queen's gaze shifted to her daughter. "Lyra," she said softly but firmly, "release the human." But the princess shook her head and held tighter. A quiet gasp moved through the soldiers. No one ever disobeyed the queen, not even her daughter. Queen Varaya's eyes sharpened. Not with anger, Elias realized, but with surprise. The princess rarely disobeyed. She had grown up inside strict palace rules. Yet here she was, gripping the hand of a stranger from a species her empire barely tolerated. The queen stepped closer, her cloak brushing the stone floor. Lyra's breath quickened, but she did not step away from Elias. Instead, she moved slightly behind him again. The guards stiffened, their hands on their weapons, but Elias raised his palm slightly to show he meant no harm. "Your Majesty," he said calmly. "I believe she is afraid. She wasn't being chased because of me. She needed someone to trust in that moment. I was just there." Queen Varaya studied him in a way that made him feel as if she could see every memory, every thought, and every intention inside him. Her golden eyes flickered briefly to her daughter again. Lyra's shoulders were shaking. It was subtle, but the queen noticed it. "She trusts you," the queen said slowly, almost sounding confused by her own words. "She trusts a human." "Ape." Elias did not respond. He knew the queen wasn't talking to him anymore. She was thinking aloud, trying to understand something new and uncomfortable. One of the queen's generals stepped forward. "Your Majesty, humans are known to manipulate emotions." The queen raised one hand, stopping him instantly. "I will decide what is possible." The general bowed and stepped back. Varaya looked at Elias again. "Human. You are calm. Too calm for someone in your position." "I'm only trying to show I'm not a danger," Elias said. "Fear would make this worse." The queen tilted her head. It was the first sign she acknowledged his composure. "You speak as if you understand my court." "I don't," he said honestly, "but I do understand fear. She shouldn't be punished for being scared." Princess Lyra slowly stepped out from behind Elias, though she still kept their hands together. She looked up at her mother with a trembling voice. "He helped me when no one else did." Her voice echoed across the hall. She rarely spoke in public. She rarely needed to. The queen's face softened by a fraction so small that most would not have seen it, but Elias saw it. The guards didn't move, but some exchanged uneasy glances. Something was changing inside their ruler, even if they didn't understand it. Queen Varaya took a slow breath. "Human. Saving my daughter earns acknowledgement. Not trust. Not freedom. But acknowledgement." Her voice remained cold, though less sharp than before. "However, her unusual attachment to you must be addressed. I will not allow uncertainty around the heir of the Empire." Elias nodded. "I understand." "No, human," the queen said. "You do not. Not yet." She gestured for two guards to come forward. "You will not be harmed, but you will be tested." The words hung in the air like heavy metal. Tested. Every alien in the hall knew what that meant. The Zarathian trial of intent was ancient and feared. Even nobles struggled to pass it. Outsiders almost never did. The queen only used it when she needed to understand someone's true nature. Princess Lyra's eyes widened with fear. "Mother, no! He didn't do anything wrong." Varaya looked at her daughter with calm authority. "He saved you. That is why he will be treated with fairness. But trust must be earned, Lyra, even by those who seem kind." Elias felt the princess tremble. He knelt slightly to meet her eyes. "It's all right," he said softly. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere." She nodded weakly, though her grip still refused to loosen. The queen noticed this too. "Lyra, release him." But the princess hesitated until Elias gently nodded. Only then did she slowly let go, her hand slipping from his like a frightened child forced to leave safety behind. Varaya observed everything. Her mind worked silently, gathering details, calculating every emotion, every reaction. Finally, she said, "Human, I do not understand why my daughter feels safe with you. But I will find out." Elias did not flinch. "I'll answer anything. Your Majesty? Krana. Krana." "You will," she replied. "Through the trial. It will reveal truth, loyalty, fear, and intention. No lie can survive it." The hall murmured. Some guards looked almost excited. Others looked doubtful. The princess looked heartbroken. Elias simply stayed calm. Because calm was all he had. Varaya lifted her chin, signaling the end of the confrontation. "The trial begins soon. Prepare yourself, human. The fate of your future in my empire will be decided there." As the guards escorted him away, Lyra broke free from her attendants and ran after him. She didn't reach him in time, but her voice echoed loudly in the hall. "Please don't let them hurt him." Queen Varaya turned slightly, just enough to watch her daughter's desperate expression. For the first time that day, the queen felt something unfamiliar inside her cold, disciplined heart. A question. Why did her daughter trust a human more than her own people? And why? She could not answer it, not yet. But the trial of intent would. And whatever truth it revealed would decide whether Elias Ward became an enemy or something far more dangerous. Someone the princess cared about. The crystal arena stood at the heart of the Zerethian capital, like a silent giant made of glass and metal. Its tall, transparent walls reflected the sky in shifting colors, as if the building itself breathed with the rhythm of the city. Every visitor who entered the arena felt a strange pressure in the air, the weight of history, of trials, of truths that could not be hidden. Elias walked through the main gate surrounded by 2 royal guards. Their steps echoed on the smooth white floor. They did not push him or threaten him, but they did not trust him either. Their eyes stayed fixed on him, watching for any sign of deception. Elias kept his hands loose by his sides and tried not to let his heartbeat quicken. He knew fear would not help him now. He had agreed to the trial of intent because he wanted peace, not conflict. And because Princess Lyra, frightened, gentle, and unexpectedly brave, believed in him. Inside the arena, a large crowd had gathered. Leaders from different sectors of the empire, high-ranking generals, scholars, and even distant ambassadors, filled the seats. They did not come to see Elias win or lose. They came to understand something unusual. Why the princess of the Zerethian Empire trusted a human more than her own people. Queen Varaya stood on an elevated platform overlooking everything. She seemed calm, but her eyes held the sharpness of someone searching for answers. Lyra stood beside her, looking smaller than usual, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. The queen had allowed her to watch, although many advisors protested, but Varaya had insisted she witness the truth with her own eyes. A voice rang out across the arena. "Begin the trial of intent." Elias stepped forward into the center of the large circular platform. The ground beneath him lit up in soft, white patterns that followed the shape of his footsteps. From above, floating drones activated, ready to project the tests that would determine his fate. The first test began with a shimmering wave that rippled across the air. Suddenly, the arena was filled with images of frightened civilians running through a collapsing city. Buildings crumbled, fires burned, debris fell from the sky. Elias felt his heart tighten. He recognized that this was not real, but it looked real enough to shake him. A robotic voice asked, "A choice. Save the supplies or save the people. Time is limited. Choose." Elias didn't even hesitate. He ran toward the civilians. The structures around him shook violently as he pulled one person after another away from danger. When a large section of metal fell from above, he jumped forward, shielding a small child, even though it meant taking the impact on his own back. The illusion ended abruptly. The crowd murmured in surprise. Many expected humans to choose survival over compassion. Varaya's eyes narrowed. She noticed something important. Not only did he protect the child, but he shielded them without anger or pride. He did it because it was natural to him, not because it was the correct test answer. The next test formed instantly. A small alien creature appeared, trembling and injured. Beside it stood a tall simulation soldier who demanded Elias choose. The creature is useless. Mercy wastes time. Eliminate it. Elias stepped between them. No. Explain, the simulated soldier growled. Because it's alive, Elias said simply. The soldier raised a weapon. Move aside. Elias stood his ground. I won't. The illusion soldier fired at him. Elias winced, expecting pain, but the arena shimmered again and the illusion faded. The creature disappeared, replaced by empty space. More murmurs filled the hall. Zerethians believed mercy was a weakness. Yet, this human chose it, without shame. Queen Varia's lips tightened slightly. She still did not trust him, but something unexpected stirred in her thoughts. She turned her head and saw her daughter watching with wide eyes full of hope. The third test blurred the arena into a silent forest. Thick fog rolled across the ground. Elias heard soft footsteps behind him. Then, a weak cry. A woman's voice whispered, "Please, help me." He turned and saw the image of a stranger kneeling in the mist. But the trial was known for deception. Many illusions were traps, designed to test one's honesty and awareness. Still, Elias knelt beside the woman. "What happened to you?" "I'm lost. I'm scared," she whispered. He checked her pulse. The moment he did, the scenery changed again. The woman vanished. The center platform returned. A metallic voice echoed, "Compassion remains consistent." Now the crowd grew silent. Many Zerethians exchanged glances of uncertainty. They could not deny what they were witnessing. The fourth test began without warning. Elias suddenly stood inside a simulation of an empty spaceport. Footsteps echoed around him. A figure appeared from the shadows, Princess Lyra. Only, this Lyra was an illusion. An unknown attacker jumped at her with a weapon. It was quick, sudden, and designed to shock. Elias reacted instantly. He sprinted, grabbed the princess by the arm, and pulled her behind him. The weapon sliced across his shoulder as he twisted to block the blow. Illusion pain was dull, but real enough to make him grit his teeth. He pushed the attacker away and placed himself between the danger and the girl, just like he had in the alley earlier. The illusion froze, then shattered like glass. An echo filled the arena. Instinct to protect, not influenced by advantage. Queen Varia's eyes widened just a fraction. This test was designed to reveal hidden motives. If Elias only protected Lyra because of her status, he would have hesitated until he identified the attacker. Instead, he reacted the same way he did in real danger, without thinking of politics, power, or reward. The queen leaned forward slightly, studying him with a new kind of interest. Princess Lyra's hands pressed tightly to her mouth. She looked as if she wanted to run to him but knew she couldn't. Not yet. Then came the final test. The arena dimmed until all lights faded. Only one spotlight lit the floor. Elias stood alone. A low hum shook the building. A new image formed in front of him. This time it was not a civilian, not a creature, not even the princess. It was him. Another Elias, a perfect copy, stood before him. A voice echoed, "Face your own fear." The copy stepped forward. "You know why you're here," it said. "Because you're nothing to them. You're a threat, a problem. You're alone, Elias." The real Elias didn't move. He simply breathed, "I'm not here for myself." The copy laughed. "You could have run away when they captured you. You could have protected only yourself. But no, you chose the princess." "Why?" "Because she needed me," Elias replied. "That's weakness," the copy spat. "Humans are weak." "Maybe," Elias said quietly, "but weakness isn't always bad." The copy rushed him. Elias blocked the blow, pushed him back, and refused to strike in return. The illusion grew more aggressive, but Elias kept dodging, avoiding attacks without hatred. Finally, the illusion dissolved. The arena brightened again. A deep voice announced, "Trial complete." The audience held its breath. Queen Varaya stood tall, her cloak shifting slightly as she looked down at Elias with unreadable eyes. Everyone waited for her judgment. Lyra clutched the railing, her heart pounding so loudly she felt it in her fingertips. Varaya spoke, her voice echoing across the entire arena. "Human Elias Ward," she said slowly. "You have not behaved like the rumors of your kind." Her eyes narrowed, in careful thought. "Your decisions were consistent. Your compassion was not fake. Your courage was instinct, not performance." Elias waited, steady but tense. "But trust is not built in one day," she continued. "And your presence around my daughter creates questions I cannot ignore." Lyra's breath caught. Elias bowed his head. "I understand, Your Majesty." The Queen lifted one hand. "You will not be punished. You will remain under watch. You will continue to answer to me. But—" She paused. The entire arena leaned forward. "You may remain in the capital until I conclude my investigation." Princess Lyra's eyes filled with relief. But Queen Varaya's expression did not soften. Her gaze returned to Elias, sharper than ever. "You protected my daughter twice," she said. "Now I must understand why she feels safe with you, and why you, a human stranger, put yourself at risk for her." Elias opened his mouth to answer, but the Queen lifted her hand again. "Not now," she said. "I will speak to you privately." The hall remained silent. Elias did not know what awaited him. Lyra did not know if she should smile or still be afraid. Varaya did not know why her daughter looked at the human as if he were a shield. But she would find out soon. Because this trial had changed something in the Queen's mind. Something she did not yet understand. Something she could not ignore. The human had passed the tests. Yet the real test between him and the Queen was only beginning. The palace halls were quieter that evening, wrapped in a soft silver glow from the setting twin suns. The shadows stretched long across the polished floors, and the cold air carried the faint hum of energy shields outside the windows. Elias walked between two guards, but this time their hands were not on their weapons. They were simply escorting him toward the Queen's private chamber, where she had ordered a private meeting. Elias knew this moment mattered more than the entire trial. Passing the tests had surprised everyone, but it did not automatically earn trust. Queen Varaya was a ruler shaped by strict laws, discipline, and decades of protecting her empire from threats. She did not trust easily. She did not forgive quickly. And she had never allowed a human to stand so close to her daughter. The guards stopped in front of a tall door made of dark metal with elegant golden designs. One guard stepped forward and pressed a small panel. The door opened with a gentle whisper. "You may enter," the guard said. "The Queen is expecting you." Elias stepped inside. Queen Varaya stood near the wide balcony, looking out at the glowing city lights below. Her posture was calm, but Elias could sense she was thinking deeply. Her cloak moved softly in the breeze, and her golden eyes reflected the bright night sky. She did not turn when he entered, but she knew exactly where he stood. After a long moment, she spoke. "You surprised my entire court today, human." Elias bowed slightly. "I only acted according to what I believe is right." Varaya finally turned to face him. Her eyes were sharp as always, but there was something new in them, a quiet curiosity, maybe even a small amount of confusion. "Humans," she said, "are spoken of as reckless, emotional, and unpredictable. Dangerous, because they let their hearts rule their decisions. Yet today, I saw someone who acted with balance." She paused, studying him carefully. "You were brave, but not wild. Kind, but not foolish. Calm, but not cold." Elias didn't know what to say. He simply waited. "Tell me," the queen asked. "Why did you risk your life for my daughter?" "Twice." He took a slow breath. There was no trick to this question. She truly wanted an honest answer. "Because she needed my help," Elias said. "And because she trusted me first." Queen Varaya's eyes narrowed slightly. Trust is fragile. People use it to control others, to influence them, to gain power. "That may be true," Elias replied. "But trust is also how people find hope." The queen tilted her head. "You speak of hope as if it is a weapon." "Sometimes it is," Elias said quietly. "It gives courage to those who feel alone." The queen did not respond immediately. She turned her gaze back toward the city, as if thinking about something far older than today. Elias wondered what memories she carried, what experiences had shaped her to distrust softness or warmth. He did not ask. It was not his place. Suddenly, a soft voice came from the side of the room. "Mother." Princess Lyra stepped out from a small doorway, dressed in a simple light blue gown. Her silver eyes were wide and anxious as she looked between the queen and Elias. Varaya seemed slightly surprised to see her, but she did not scold her. Lyra walked toward them until she stood beside Elias. She was still nervous, but her presence was steady. "I wanted to be here," she said quietly. "I wanted to explain as well." Varaya raised an eyebrow. "Explain what, Lyra?" The young princess hesitated, then looked up at her mother with honest eyes. "Why I hold his hand." The queen's expression softened just a little. "Go on." Lyra took a shaky breath. "When the smugglers chased me, I didn't know what to do. I was scared. Everyone always looks at me as the princess, not as a person. They follow rules. They don't talk. They don't listen." Her voice trembled. "But he did," she said. "He didn't see me as a princess. He only saw someone who needed help. And when I held his hand, I felt safe. Really safe. I didn't feel like an heir or a symbol. I felt like myself." A deep silence settled in the chamber. Elias watched the queen carefully. Her expression did not show anger, nor disappointment. Instead, she seemed to be examining her daughter's words, weighing every emotion. Finally, Varaya asked softly, "Do you still feel safe with him?" Lyra nodded. "Yes." The queen's gaze shifted to Elias again. "You understand the weight of her words, human? She does not speak like this often. She guards her feelings even more fiercely than I do." "I understand," Elias said. Varaya stepped closer. The cold strength in her presence remained, but there was no hostility now. Only authority mixed with something new, reluctant, respect. "I do not know how this bond formed," she said, "but it is my duty to protect my daughter. That means understanding any influence in her life." Elias nodded. "I want the same thing, Your Majesty. I don't want her harmed either." The queen's eyes locked with his. It felt like standing under a heavy storm cloud that had not decided whether to strike or clear. "You protected her without hesitation," Varaya said. "Even when you believed you might die. That is not something I can ignore." Elias remained still, waiting for her judgment. The queen walked past him, her cloak brushing lightly against the floor. She stopped in front of her throne and turned to face both of them. "I will allow something unprecedented," she said, her voice carrying across the room. "Elias Ward, you may remain in this palace, under my protection." Lyra gasped with joy, but the queen raised one hand, signaling she was not finished. "You will serve as an advisor to my daughter. You will teach her about human culture, and you will learn about ours. You will stay close to her, but always under my watch." Elias bowed. "I accept. But know this, human," Varaya continued. "If you ever misuse her trust," Elias finished her sentence gently, "I never will." For the first time, Queen Varaya showed a faint expression of acceptance. Not warmth, not affection, but acknowledgement that he meant what he said. Lyra stepped closer to Elias, relief flooding her features. "Thank you, Mother." "You thank him, not me," Varaya said softly. "He is the reason I am willing to try this." Elias felt an unexpected weight lift from his shoulders. He had not earned the Queen's full trust, but he had earned something even rarer, a chance. A sudden knock came at the door. A royal messenger entered with a deep bow. "Your Majesty." Reports from the border mention rising tension with the Narkal Federation. "They request your immediate guidance." Varaya's expression hardened. "Prepare the War Council room." The messenger hurried out. The Queen looked at Elias and Lyra again. "It seems this peace is short. The galaxy changes quickly. And humans, they say, adapt faster than most." Elias met her eyes. "If you need help, I won't step back." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Something unspoken passed between them, a silent understanding that war and peace both required people who put others first. She nodded once. "We will speak again soon." Lyra gently tugged Elias's sleeve. "Come with me. There is a garden behind the palace. I want to show you something." He smiled. "All right." As they walked away, Queen Varaya watched them with a thoughtful gaze. She stood alone in the room, the cool wind brushing her cloak. For many years, she had ruled with strength, logic, and caution. But now, for the first time in a long time, she wondered if there was another kind of strength, one she had forgotten to value. A strength found in trust. A strength found in connection. A strength that her daughter had discovered in a human. Soon, the Empire would face new challenges. Enemies would rise. Allies would shift. But something had already changed inside the heart of the palace. A bond had been formed. A bond even the coldest queen could no longer deny. And that bond would echo across the Empire in ways none of them could yet understand.